30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. I'd say it's a beautiful Monday, although it just got through pouring out here in Bellevue. I mean, the bottom dropped out, but that's the way the weather has been in the last 12 to 24 hours. You'll get bright sunshine, then you'll turn around, you'll get a bunch of weather, and you're like, what's going on here? Well, apparently, according to the forecast, this is going to be the way it'll be for the next couple, 3 days. So you're likely to get a little precip. Let's check in Murfreesboro, call roll, and say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how are you?
I'm great, Bill Hall. How are you doing?
I'm good. You know, I would wish to be Bill Hall. He was
he was great.
He was great and a really good human being to go with it.
Yeah, I can remember watching him when I was a kid in Fayetteville. It was he was an unbelievable guy.
Yeah. Back when I worked in that building, I would go up and see him from time to time, and just a wonderful human being. Everybody who was ever around him thought great things of him. So did you have a good weekend?
I did have a good weekend. How about yourself? You get a little baseball in last week?
Got a little baseball in, went to St. Louis, paid $9 to sit in great seats. I don't know what happened other than somebody was trying to get rid of two really good seats, and they got snapped up like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did the Cardinals still suck?
Yes, they did. And a lot of rumors coming out of St. Louis right now. Number one, this is just me. This is my opinion. If I was going to put a wager on who the first manager is to be fired, I think it's in St. Louis at the All-Star break. And the rumor over there is the longtime and brilliant catcher, Yadier Molina, will be the next manager of the Cardinals.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think that'd be a half bad idea.
No, I think you're right. Absolutely. That's it's kind of amazing. Do you think I asked the other day while you were gone, but do you think that they'll start wholesale changes, George, with the trade deadline and all that?
It's a good question because they've got a pretty young team. If you look at what they've done, they've thrown 3 or 4 young guys in. What they're not getting right now is pitching. Jack Flaherty 3 years ago was on the verge of being as dominant a starter in the National League as there is, and he has just completely hit rock bottom. They booed the crap out of him Tuesday night. He pitches today. The rumor in St. Louis is that he's tipping his pitches. Now, whether that's true or not, I have no idea. I just know that's what's being put out there.
Yeah, a lot of people put rumors out there. He might have lost his confidence too. If you got people booing you, I mean, that's a tough place to be. That's not very fun. And I know these professionals, they get paid a lot of money. I was in that boat a long time ago, and when you make money, you're expected to perform, and then when you're not performing, we talk about it all the time with Danny. The expectations become a lot greater when you get that big paycheck.
Sure do.
That big cash, and sometimes it's just hard to live up to. And if you let it get you, it totally tears your confidence down. And there's some guys that never come back from it, George.
The thing that's tough in that city, Kelly, is there's a pressure. The whole downtown economy, it seems to me, is tied to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And when they're not good, business is down. There's a lot of grumbling going on. And yet the weird thing is that division is so bad, they still got a shot.
Crazy. Yeah, but it's just such a storied, it's such a storied place to play baseball, and it's got such a tradition there that you normally don't see the St. Louis Cardinals struggling like they're struggling.
Mm-mm. Great stadium. If you haven't been there before, right near the arch, you can see the arch. as you look out toward the outfield. It's a great baseball town. I love going there. And anyway, that's my trip. Let's check in with Billy. Billy, did you have a good weekend?
I did have a good weekend.
Well, that's wonderful.
I have very fair skin, George. I'm not like you, naturally tan. Went out on the lake house.
The olive look, you mean?
Yeah, the old shoulders look like a lobster's.
Really?
So
They hurt him today, Billy?
yeah. They could feel better today.
The dogs are barking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I got back home. My mom goes, "Did you not put sunscreen on? Do you know what kind of skin you have?" And I was like, "Well, it was too little, too late."
I bet mommy put some sunscreen on, didn't she?
Well, she would if she was there.
I'm talking about putting sunscreen on her baby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She probably rubbed some aloe vera lotion on your shoulders. Billy, why did you do that?
Wow.
I could use some aloe vera right now.
David, how was your?
We don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So let's get back to David. David, good weekend?
Yeah, it was good, George. Went to First Horizon on Friday and Saturday night. Great crowds there this weekend. I totaled it up for the entire week. 57,998 people came through the gates at First Horizon.
For that 6-game series.
For the entire week. So
what did they have yesterday?
11,000 something. I can't remember the exact total.
That's the one that blows my mind because it's, on a Sunday, first of all, Father's Day, although I guess a lot of people said, we're going to the ballpark, we're taking Dad. But that's in the heat of the day where you expect the crowds to be a little lower. And yet they had been telling me all week that their pre-sale was through the roof.
They got a great game yesterday. Went to extra innings, 0-0, I think. A 3-run walk-off home run by Eddie Alvarez. So Nationals sweeps Gwinnett. So that's interesting. But
so
great ballpark.
I went to the Friday night game to see Mike Soroka, and he pitched pretty well, 6 innings, gave up a couple of runs. Kelly, this is an important piece of my team winning another world title.
George, you need to be his agent. I've never heard anybody say Mike Soroka. Are you getting paid by every time you say his name?
Probably so.
Good gracious. That's about on the lines of the Oakland A's moving to Las Vegas. I mean, how many times are we going to go through that?
A lot.
I know he's feeling some pressure to get back, though, with Max Fried ramping up his rehab, starting to throw off the mound. Kyle Wright got the good to go to start throwing. So, and then the rotation's been pitching well. They're going to skip Schuster here in Philly this week. But, Smith-Shawver's pitching well. Elder's pitching well. So there might not be a spot for him here in a little bit.
Oh, there'll be a spot.
If you say so, George.
Yeah, absolutely. They talk to me every day about these things. Billy, do we have an update?
Yes, we do.
Uh-huh.
And we start with the U.S. Open. Wyndham Clark gets the win. He made some money this weekend. He almost blew it, though. His lead shrunk from 3 strokes to 1 late, but he held on. He had never made the cut at the U.S. Open. He was 0 for 2 entering this week. He's just the fourth player over the last 100 years to win the U.S. Open the week of his first made cut.
Kelly, did you see, I want to say it was like the 11th hole where he gets caught in a bunker from hell.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And, I'd never seen a pro try to hit a ball out of a bunker and it doesn't go anywhere.
No, it went nowhere.
I understand what that's like.
Yes, you do.
I had it happen one day last week, and twice I couldn't get the ball out of the bunker. And so the third time I just said to hell with it and threw it.
Is that part of the scramble that y'all could throw the ball on the green?
No,
you got to throw during the scramble?
This was not an official deal. This was out at Harpeth Hills. And, I just felt like it's time to cheat. Threw it really good. Got it very close to the pin.
So you're one of those pencil pushers. You're that guy.
No, I mean, look, I don't even take a scorecard. Somebody handed me a scorecard. I was like, please, what the hell? I mean,
I tell you what Wyndham Clark did yesterday, though. That was pretty impressive because he's got Rory McIlroy, who's 1 forward, breathing down his neck.
Yeah.
And I hated that he lost that bogey late, and they got it to 1. If he would have had 2, he would have had smooth sailing. But you're talking about a guy that bared down and focused, and that putt that he made on the 18th hole, a 60-foot putt. Can you that's where we always, amateurs always miss the 3-foot, 4-foot putts, but getting a lag putt close, it's amazing what those guys can do. And under that pressure, I think that was the first time that they had brought the fans around the green. The USGA said that they were going to do that, and he was looking at the fans, and I'm thinking to myself, Wyndham, why are you looking at the fans? Don't even worry about that. But he got back focused, and he hit that 60-foot putt a foot by the hole. It's just amazing what those guys can do and what they can do with a golf ball. It's just – and then the kid from Vanderbilt, which I know you're going to talk about, wow, can he smoke a golf ball?
Yeah, I need some lessons.
I mean, he was hitting it. He was hitting it. He hit it. He outdrove Rory McIlroy on a hole. I mean, that's amazing.
It is amazing.
The guy only weighs 100 and what does he weigh? 170 pounds?
Yeah, I was talking to one of my big golf buddies, and he said that he was able to go to the Masters, and he heard about how he was striping it before the Masters, and apparently a bunch of the Rory McIlroy, a bunch of big time guys had to stop and say, "Who is this kid?" I mean, off the tee, he's impressive.
People do the same thing with me, but for different reasons.
Yeah, they're like, I can still see, you hit that 125 with a driver.
Move on.
Yeah, Wyndham had 95 to 1 odds of winning the whole thing. So you really never know who's going to win these majors. NBA news over the weekend: Bradley Beal is headed to Phoenix. The Wizards are finalizing a trade to send three-time All-Star Beal to Phoenix for a package that's expected to include Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, several second-round picks, and a pick swap. So a big trade deal there. That could take a few days to be completed, though.
Bradley Beal's a stud.
Yeah, and they've got a big three in Phoenix now with Booker, KD, and Durant, KD and Beal. But how long will they all be able to play on the court together? Durant and Booker rarely played together.
Yeah, well,
that's the big question.
It's called getting old.
Or is a lot of it the load management? I mean, because
it could be a combination. Either way, Will Perdue's going to join us in a few minutes, and that's one of the many things that we'll get into. Hopefully, we won't get into my golf game.
Will bring that up because with the commercials right before that.
Yeah, what else?
College World Series. Game 1 today is going on right now. Stanford has taken a 4-0 lead on Tennessee.
Tennessee's in big trouble.
Yeah. They've struggled in Omaha when they've gotten there.
Well, they're not scoring any runs.
No, and they're facing aces. They faced Paul Skeens Saturday night and lost 6-3. I mean, if Paul Skeens is pitching like that and he's getting those strike calls on the edge there, he's unbeatable. He's already unbeatable.
And it's a park where the concept of a 5-run inning
is rare.
Nobody's been getting that. This park plays huge.
Yeah. Also, Saturday, Wake beat Stanford. The games have been great. I mean, 5 one-run games so far.
Wake was really fortunate.
They were. So was Florida last night to beat Oral Roberts, who fought back. Crazy
ending.
Really wild there. TCU stayed alive yesterday as well. So we'll see if Tennessee can kind of battle back in this one. It's hot today. It's up in the 90s. And both teams are wearing dark uniform, black for Stanford and gray for Tennessee. So bold move there. Tonight, LSU and Wake Forest. Going to be a big one. And the winner is in the driver's seat. They don't have to play till Wednesday. So if you win those first 2 games, as you know, George, you're in the driver's seat.
Oh, yeah.
That's where you want to be.
It's winner's bracket. You want to be in the winner's bracket. If you win early, you get some huge advantages.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens today in Omaha. I wanted to throw this in here, George. Yesterday, obviously, the Braves won the game, big 14-6 win over Colorado on Father's Day. Mm-hmm. But they designated Charlie Culberson for assignment with very weird timing. His dad was scheduled to throw out the first pitch. Those plans had to change after they demoted Culberson to make room for the catcher, Chadwick Tromp. That's a shame. That should not have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't look. Without being down there to know what other options there were, I don't really know. I know Culberson is a really well-liked guy. And several years ago, he came off the bench and delivered some huge hits.
Yeah.
And got the nickname Clutch Charlie.
Yeah.
And he had been here when Gwinnett was in town the last time. I hope something good happens for him. Everything I hear about him is he's a great guy, and the timing of that's really unfortunate.
Yeah, the problem was that Sean Murphy pulled his hamstring on a ball at the wall on Saturday, so they needed to have a backup catcher for tomorrow's game. If something would happen to Travis d'Arnaud, they're without a catcher.
Yeah.
So Murphy did not go on the IL that morning. So they're going to wait it out, see if he can
It's a cruel
get through
business.
it. So somebody had to go for the backup catcher.
On the bright side, Michael Harris, his dad ended up throwing the first pitch. Harris went 5 for 5.
Yeah,
So
he needs to throw out the first pitch every game they go to.
get Michael's dad throwing the first pitch maybe a few more times.
How about that?
But that's it, George. Good win for the Braves yesterday. They're still rolling.
By the way, if you walk out of your house right now and you hear something, it's the Braves hitting another homer off Colorado. Good Lord. Here's a rhyme for you. Bombs away in Atlanta, GA.
I like that.
Okay, after the break, our buddy Will Perdue's going to join us. The NBA draft is Thursday night. Can you even spell Victor Wembanyama?
No.
Did I say that right? Hold on,
Yes.
let me look at it
I think you
again.
did.
Wembanyama.
Yama.
Okay.
Okay, how about just Victor W?
They call him Wemby to just make it easier.
V-Dub. Just
I
call
like
him V-Dub. V-Dub.
Let's
That's what
do
everyone V-Dub.
Anyway, we'll get Will's take on him. He's seen him on film just like all of us. Got a variety of things to get into with him. Hopefully my golf game does not come up. But either way, we're at the beautiful Fordyce Center in Bellevue. So stick around. This interview will be fun.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Links. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. If you're looking for a football camp for your son or daughter that stresses the fundamentals and doing things right, let me suggest the Hometown Football Camp. Here's former MTSU quarterback Wes Counts.
The Hometown Football Camp is a youth football camp at Battleground Academy, June 19th through 21st. This is a working skills camp for young football players to learn proper technique and skills to prepare them for the upcoming season. Our coaches have won championships at both high school and college levels and are eager to pass along their knowledge. So if the young football player in your life wants to be successful this fall, send them to the Hometown Football Camp. Register at hometownfootballcamp.com. That's hometownfootballcamp.com.
Okay, we're back. We may be in a little bit of a holding pattern on Will Perdue, who I can tell is there. But, Billy, you have some instructions for him?
Yeah, I texted him. He said for some reason it won't turn on, so we might have to get Will on by phone.
Yeah, I knew that was a possibility. So we'll just hang tight here for just a minute. So we've got the trade that obviously we'll get into at some point with Will. Bradley Beal goes to the Phoenix Suns. And, of course, this gets all the talk going of a big three: Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. And that is some real firepower. Will is with us by phone, or at least I think he is, up in Chicago. Will, can you hear me? Not on yet.
Not on yet.
Okay.
He just hung up.
Okay. So he's having some fun with us, is he?
This is all Billy's fault.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's all Billy's fault. He should have done this before. I mean,
okay.
all Billy's fault.
I'm told Will is ready from the Windy City. Will Perdue, how are you?
George, I'm doing well. For some reason, I can't get my camera to work. Maybe it's trying to tell me something.
Well, look, whatever the case, we'd never get on the air if that was the real problem. So, how are things up in Chicago?
Things in Chicago are going well. What is all that noise? What is happening?
Well, our show originates from the Fordyce Center out in Bellevue. And so to the left, you've got a clinic going on. To the right in the rink in there, you've got one going on. So a lot of noise, and that's kind of what you're hearing.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping to do this would have been my first interview in my new office at my house that we just moved into in Chicago, but unfortunately it's with no video. I have no idea. I mean, I am technically inept.
And you're telling me this is the pot calling the kettle black if I say anything, because I'm no better at it all, Will, than you are. Hey, give me some thoughts. Let's start with Denver and their NBA title. And I think everybody came away going, wow, Jokic really is that good. Will, a lot of people had not seen a lot of him and really got caught off guard by it.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that, listen, the diehards know who he is. It's the casual fan that watches towards the end of the year once the NCAA tournament is over, the first week of April. They kind of start watching the NBA. And Denver, quite honestly, wasn't on national television a lot. They kind of were under the radar. But it's just, and the funny thing is, George, when you watch him play, he does some really amazing things, but it's almost like he does it in slow motion. So he doesn't blow you away when you watch him, like some guys that are just so athletically gifted, like Giannis. When you watch Giannis play, some of the things he does just leave you sitting there going, wow. But as you watch Jokic more and more, it's just the little subtle things that he does that really, as you watch game after game after game, start to really stand out. Because, quite honestly, he plods down the floor. He kind of looks like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man a little bit. But yet his basketball IQ is off the charts. And his vision, he has the vision of the floor like a guard. He has the ability to knock down the three, which makes it impossible to guard him because you got to go all the way out. and I mean, when I say all the way out, you got to extend yourself past the 3-point line. He can put it on the deck, and he's big enough to where he uses his body to kind of somewhat bully you, knock you off, your center of gravity, kind of get you going backwards. He doesn't blow by you, but it's just he's learned how to take what he's given and his physical skills and, make himself into a great player. Listen, at the end of the day, if teams knew he was going to be this good, what was he, 41st? He went 41st or 42nd in the draft. It wasn't like he necessarily blew anybody away in his individual workouts or when he was, playing over in Europe. I mean, you saw that he had potential, but at that point, not enough potential where teams drafted him in the lottery or drafted him in the first round. It was just, hey, we got a second round pick. Let's go with this Jokic guy and let's see what he develops into in the future.
Will, when we watch him, you see skills that as a European he has learned, and you kind of come away going, okay, what are the young American kids learning? They're better athletes for the most part. We know that. But are they the basketball skill that the European guys are?
Well, the kids in the United States are, yeah, but you got to spend the time now watching the game, learning the game. That's the funny thing is you can go to these AAU tournaments, and I know everybody says AAU is bad. I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. What I think the AAU is missing is two things. One, coaching, meaning specific coaching of spending the time to teach these kids how to play the game the right way. And two, accountability. These kids jump from team to team. They play 6 games a night. They play for more than one team. So there's not a lot of chemistry involved. There's a lot of one-on-one. And I think that's unfortunate. But that's the thing where, you go back to, okay, you got to spend time in the film room. You got to spend time on your own time going to watch other games so you can pick up these type of things. If you go back and you look at some of the best players of all time, Hall of Famers, I'll go Dennis Rodman, for example. I know a lot of people are distracted because of, everything he used to do off the floor and the tattoos and dyeing his hair and all that stuff. But that guy, he may not have practiced a lot, and he skipped a lot of the practices from a physical standpoint, meaning not being there or not participating. But that guy spent a lot of time watching film on his opponent. I mean, there's a reason why he could rebound like he did because of his ability to know when a guy was taking a shot from the left baseline or the left wing, the probability of where that rebound was going to go when he missed, because of the amount of film that he watched. Jokic is that type of guy. It's the IQ aspect that I think a lot of American players are missing because that stuff's not fun. You don't see results like if you go in the gym and work on your game. You see the results. From an IQ standpoint, it's just the constant repetition of learning the game and developing that mental awareness of what it is you're trying to do when you're on the floor.
So, Will, as Denver was dominating, the last couple of series, people rushed to say, okay, they are, they're the odds-on favorite next year. What has the Bradley Beal trade done to maybe change that, with Phoenix now having 3 real studs?
Well, I think that it makes them the best starting lineup in the league, that being the Phoenix Suns, because now you basically have 3 all-stars, Kevin Durant being one of the best players in the league, and if not the best player on any given night, and then the rest of that lineup. But the problem with them is that they don't have a bench. They didn't have a bench this past season because of the amount that they invested in their starters. And now they're going to have to go out and they're going to have to pay a bunch of minimum salary guys and hope that they play way above their head. Basically, what Phoenix is going to have to do is hope that they hit home runs on evaluating talent like this past Miami Heat team, when you talk about the guys for them that came off the bench and had huge games time and time again on, basically veteran minimum contracts or, veteran exception contracts, because that's the only way that they're going to be able to truly compete throughout an 82-game season in the playoffs.
Okay, Kelly, I've left a lot of meat on the bone for you. Victor Wembanyama is out there. You got all kinds of places you can go. Have you ever interviewed Will Perdue before?
No, I've never interviewed Will. I think we met at your bowling tournament, which is quite shocking that he actually knows you. I'm sorry, Will. I apologize for that.
I will say this though. You remember that part about basketball IQ?
Yeah.
When I was a freshman at Vanderbilt, there was this radio guy that brought me out on the floor and said, "I need to teach you the half hook."
Yes, I did.
George swears up and down that he was something back in high school, back in BGA when they had those skin tight uniforms, and he swears up and down he could throw a hook up and make it.
Well, he kept telling me, he goes, "I'm killing him at the YMCA with this move."
And I was.
That is great. Well, hey, I want to go back to what you said about AAU because I clapped. You can't see it because you're not on video, but I can remember the late great Kobe Bryant talking about how the foreign players were kind of catching up and passing the United States guys, and they're more athletic over here. You're absolutely right. But I went through that AAU stuff with my daughter, and I wasn't a fan. I'm with you though, because if you've got a good coach, and we ran across a bunch of really good coaches, but one of the first meetings we had with our coach, and I should have walked out, but it was a political situation. But he said, "Hey, this is about you. This whole thing is about you. You've got to go out and you've got to showcase yourself." And when he said that's kind of where the AAU deal is, and I understand that. But you need to show young kids. You need to have a good coach, like you talked about, but you need to show the kids what it's like to be part of a team. And that's what bothers me about AAU basketball.
Yeah, and that's not the culture of AAU. AAU is a big moneymaker.
Oh, I know.
Coaches, the people that run these tournaments, but it is a way for college coaches to be able to see a lot of recruits at once. I mean, I get it. I understand what they're trying to do. But to go full circle here, let's talk about Denver for a second. I think Coach Malone needs to be given a lot of credit, or somebody, and it starts with him, but also his assistants. And George, there's a guy that was on the bench for Denver who I got to experience. You watched play a lot back in the day, Popeye Jones, who I think one day is probably going to be a head coach, if not, soon in the NBA. I know Popeye. I know about his son playing, with the Blackhawks, the Predators, blah, blah, blah. The one thing I know he talks about is team basketball. The one thing I know that Malone was constantly hammering away at with Murray and Jokic is about trust your teammates, trust your teammates. You're going to need them. They need you, and you need them. Because, there's the saying out there, your superstars will get you there. It's everybody else that'll get you over the top. And that's what you saw, is how consistently well, the Denver Nuggets bench played. So the issue that, as you just brought up, that I have with AAU is I think it's unfortunately a necessary evil. But at the same time, I think it just teaches the wrong approach and the wrong mentality as far as how they go about it. You could still take an AAU team and talk to them about, the strength of team over individuals and how to play the basketball the right way and win a lot of these tournaments. But the problem is that's not why kids are there. They're not there to win. They're there to showcase their skills. And as you just talked about, they're there to make sure that they are seen by all these coaches.
Yeah, and I totally get that, Will. I really do. I totally understand that. I just think that that's a sad situation for where we are, and I understand it. I get it like you do. I had to deal with it for 6 or 7 years with my daughter, and I enjoyed watching her play, but it's just the politics, and you're right. It is a money thing. So the next question I'm going to ask you is, obviously having the Memphis Grizzlies here, what would you say to Ja Morant? It seems like he's got the world in his hands. He's such a talented guy. Guy can score. He can do anything you need offensively. And then all the trouble that he's had here of late. What, as a teammate, what would you say to him?
Well, I also, I think let's back up here for a second because, this is what I know about the NBA. All these teams have security that travels, and most teams now have 2 security guys. It used to be just 1 security guy. Now, because of just cell phones and everything, it's 2 security guys. And a lot of these security guys are former FBI agents, Secret Service guys, stuff like that. What I want to know is, are the Memphis Grizzlies also doing an internal audit about all these things? Because the one thing I can tell you is this just didn't happen overnight. And how much of this did the Memphis Grizzlies actually know about? How much did they allow to slide? And because they allowed it to slide, it was like a snowball, and then they couldn't push it back up the hill. And here we are. So this isn't just a Ja Morant thing. I think the Memphis Grizzlies also need to hold themselves accountable, and they need to do an internal audit about what happened, how come it didn't go all the way up to the top, and why was this not stopped before we got to this point? Because I know the league stepped up and now fined them another 25 games, which I didn't think was enough. But you'd be surprised what these teams know about how they're able to kind of contain this type of information and keep it under wraps. It's when it comes out is you're like, okay, how long have they known about it? That's one. Number two, I remember doing the OVC tournament and seeing Ja Morant. I don't know what it is he's trying to prove or who he is or, anything of that nature. I don't want to use any terminology because somebody will take it the wrong way. And I don't want to necessarily say, people say, well, it's his parents. I don't know. I mean, I thought his dad did a pretty good job of raising him on, the values that he taught him. I remember talking to him in Evansville, during the tournament. It's just sometimes these kids, when they're thrust into these situations and now you're in the limelight and everybody treats you like a god and you have all this money at your disposal, they just don't know how to handle it. And that, to me, is where you got to hire the right agent. Because hiring the right agent that cares about you as an individual as much as they do about you as a player can solve a lot of these problems. But also your agent having the wherewithal to step up and being like, for example, Ja, I don't like so-and-so that you're hanging out with, or Ja, I don't like, your behavior and what I'm hearing behind the scenes, holding the player accountable as well. And I think at the end of the day, you just have to talk to Ja and be like, what is it that you're trying to prove when you should be doing focusing on basketball, focusing on being a great father, and focusing on, being a role model. I know Charles Barkley once said that, hey, I'm not a role model just because I play in the NBA. Okay, that's fine. But unfortunately, being in the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, that's part of the job. You're thrust into that role. I think you should take that. You should run with it. And I think you should, be a role model to these kids that are coming up.
So let's go back a little bit, Will, and I want to ask you what you've you've been asked 10,000 times, but I'm going to refrain from doing that. But talk about the NBA. Like, how much has the NBA changed since you played to now? I can remember, and I'm sure you can't stand the Detroit Pistons, but watching the 30 for 30 for those guys and how rough they were and how rough the game was back then. You guys were rough as well. It was just how has the game changed from then till now?
Well, it's become more of a finesse game, and it's still a very physical game. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the rules have changed from a defensive standpoint to where, I feel like they've given the offense a little too much of an advantage, number one. Number two, part of what we're seeing, and this is just my opinion, the interesting thing is this, you use the Memphis Grizzlies as an example. I'll go down that road. So you take the way Ja Morant played, and I love to watch him play. First and foremost, let me make that very clear. But what I didn't like, and this isn't just with Memphis, but this is with the whole league, is, I love the entertainment aspect. I love when players jaw back and forth. But, the one thing that we had when I played was players police themselves. And that's one of the areas where I think that the league needs to allow players to do that. And I know that people are like, well, it crossed the line. Well, I think we've gotten to the point where this trash talking has crossed the line.
Yeah.
And the antics and the things that they do. I mean, and that's why I use Memphis as an example. I mean, you're getting into it with Shannon Sharp on the sidelines. Why? How?
That's right.
I mean, it's just, with Brooks and everything that happened, the attitude, the interesting thing is that I always talk about, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. I thought that the Memphis Grizzlies went way deep into the arrogant side. I mean, you got Ja Morant saying, yeah, we're not afraid of anybody in the West. Well, okay, that's cool, but how far did you guys actually go if you're not afraid of anybody? And I think that's where, if you allowed players to police themselves during games, when you talk a little too much trash, you're going to pay the price. You want to come in and dunk on somebody and then try to embarrass them, you're going to pay the price. And I know some people don't want it to get back to that, but it's also a personal preference. Do I think the game is more entertaining? Yes, I do. Do I sometimes get bored by the game because of the lack of defense? Yes, I do. So it just depends on how you as an individual, what it is you want to see. But I think that the league could really help themselves from an image standpoint. I think on a whole, the image is very good. The ratings are off the charts. It's headed in the right direction. But they have to be really careful that, they're not putting the cart before the horse.
George, go ahead. I know you're waiting. Yeah, there you go.
Will, I'm going to ask one last thing, and then we're going to let you go. You've seen the film footage we have, too, of this kid that's going to get drafted number 1, and everybody's acting like it is a can't miss. Is it can't miss on Victor Wembanyama?
Well, I was going to say it's like a George Plaster 6-foot putt. You expect it to go dead in the center, but occasionally, George gets the yips.
Oh.
But
actually, occasionally it went in.
Yeah. Well, blind squirrel, but that's just a topic for another day. But let me throw something out there. It's kind of funny. We're talking about and this is what I'll say. I've watched the kid play numerous times. And some of the stuff that he can do from a physicality standpoint, and I'm not talking about push people around, but just because of his length, his athleticism. I think, again, his IQ, you literally sit there and watch the game and go, wow. But the league's going to have to adapt to him, which they will do very quickly, but he's going to have to adapt to the league as well. I'm sorry I'm drawing a blank, but what's the kid that got drafted by Oklahoma City last year that got hurt?
Oh, Lord.
The kid, the 7'5" kid, he was really skinny.
Yeah.
Sorry I'm drawing a blank, but now I'm showing my age.
Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, Chet Holmgren
from Gonzaga.
That kid's got skills, but he got hurt. But he's also, there's a lot of things he has to do from a physical standpoint. He's got to get stronger. There's so many different things he's got to do to be able to, not play in the NBA. I think he can play right away because of how the rules have changed and the officiating has changed. But there's a lot of things he's got to do to last in the NBA. Be able to play, every year and not be the guy that, hey, that guy's a good player, but he only played, 45 to 50 games a year because he was always hurt. That's my biggest concern about Victor coming in because of how slender he is, because of how he plays. Can he stay healthy to where he can have a significant impact on an opponent? I'll go back to, and I'll close this with Joel Embiid. I was working with Joel in Los Angeles when he hurt his foot. He was a little overweight. He had a back issue. But just in that time period, I remember when Brett Brown from the Sixers called me the night before the draft, and he said, hey, if this kid can ever be healthy, would you pick him as the first pick? And I said, I'd pick him on the hopes that he's healthy and because of the things he can do. And I think we've seen that. Okay. Embiid was not a not miss guy, but he was a guy that if he can stay healthy could do incredible things. If and but were like candy and nuts, we'd all be happy at Christmas. So you got to take a chance on this. I think you're taking less of a chance than most player coaches, teams have taken on any player over the last 20 years on Victor than on any first round pick ever because of just his skill level and his IQ. And I honestly can't think of a better place for him to go than San Antonio because of Greg Popovich, his staff, and that organization. Because the one thing I will tell you is Greg Popovich, if he feels like from a mentality standpoint, if there's for some reason that Pop feels like that playing this kid could be detrimental to his growth, could be detrimental to him as a person, could be detrimental to his future, Pop won't play him. He'll take a lot of heat for it, but he'll have his reasons, and his reasons will always be in the best interest of that kid as a person and not as a basketball player.
Will, this is great stuff as always. Really appreciate you taking the time. And don't forget the old White Sox slogan, good guys wear black.
And they got to do something about this team, man. They're just listen. I know nobody talks about the White Sox. Everybody talks about nobody comes to Chicago to see the White Sox except for diehard Sox fans. Everybody comes to go to Wrigleyville and the Cubs and the parties and have fun. But there's just too many diehard Sox fans in this town, and they deserve better. And I hope that they can find a way to turn this around.
Yeah, because the product, they've got better talent than what they're doing right now. Got to run. Thank you as always.
All right, George, you got it, man. I appreciate it.
Okay, behave, Will. That's the great Will Perdue. Tell you what, love talking basketball with him. Wish we'd had more time in the segment to do it. He is fascinating. Always comes with something you probably haven't thought of. Let me talk to you about the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. You see the dates at the bottom of the screen. So we're, about 6 weeks away? And I've never been to a Grand Prix. And I'm not ashamed to admit it, but I'm excited about the opportunity to go this time around. I've accepted the invitation, and I will be there. And the reason I will be there is I am intrigued by people who are like me, who have said, I've never been to this before, and have come away in the first 2 years going, it's one of the coolest things they've ever seen in sports. Throw in all that great music over the 3 days, and what you've got is a terrific party and just a great sports atmosphere. The tickets have been on sale now for a while. If you haven't checked in, now's the time to do it. www.musiccitygp Again, musiccitygp.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Well, if you're watching this live, there are some dramatic happenings in Omaha. Tennessee playing Stanford today in what has been a tough uphill climb. Billy, what is the latest?
Stanford has given up 4 runs in the top half of the 5th. Tennessee was down 4-0. They have tied it at 4, and we head to the bottom of the 5th in Omaha. It looks like Chase Burns is coming in for Tennessee, so we got another good game up in Omaha.
And this one's a little bit of a surprise because there have been some runs scored in a park where there have not been a lot.
Yeah.
So when they bring Chase Burns in, this is not some get through the 5th inning.
No, this is finish the game.
This is finish the game.
Finish the game. We're putting the game on your back, on your shoulders. They've done it before. And, Tennessee's in a good spot now as they're going to their pen. And Stanford doesn't have the best bullpen. So, but it's tied at 4. So, again, anything can happen.
So if Tennessee loses today, they are out.
Yep.
If they win, then what?
They play tomorrow at 6 o'clock against the loser of Wake and LSU tonight. So,
wow.
Yeah. And then if they win that one, they got to beat the winner of that game twice.
So people have had Wake in the one hole as the number 1 overall seed in the country. But when I watched them Saturday, they didn't feel like, okay, there's a gap between Wake and the rest of the field. I didn't think there was.
Yeah, and we talked about that. Wake moving from their smaller field where it's 300 to the corners. You go to Omaha, that's a totally different game.
It's a Grand Canyon.
And they haven't played at a park like that really all season. And they probably haven't played in an atmosphere like this either in the ACC. So, again, Wake, I agree, George. I don't think they looked up to par as the king of the sport, number 1 seed. But, again, the 1 seed usually doesn't. It's just it is really anybody's game in Omaha, but it'll be fun tonight watching Wake and LSU for sure.
Kelly, have you ever been out there?
I have not. I remember as a kid watching it growing up. I remember watching Roger Clemens and all the Texas Longhorns and playing in Rosenblatt Stadium. I can remember all that. But talking about Wake Forest, George, we talked about it on the phone. This is our first time there in like 60 years.
Yeah.
So I'm sure
1955, I think 50.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so I'm sure there's a little stage. I don't know if it's stage fright, but I'm sure getting used to the surroundings, getting used to being the number 1 seed, the expectations we talk about a lot. That's tough. And for a team like Wake Forest, they bounced back. They came back and won the game. But everybody's just saying, hey, this is a shoe-in for Wake Forest. And it's just you've got to go out and play ball. You got to go out and play the game.
Well, the other thing, and Billy brought it up, the new stadium that they play in now, Rosenblatt was a home run paradise.
Yes.
This place is the Grand Canyon. Creighton's basketball arena, if you're watching, you can see it behind the left center field fence. Anyway, it's like 420 to dead center. I've always thought that teams that know how to play small ball, advance runners, hit behind runners, suicide squeeze, those are teams that have a big advantage when they go out there because there just are not a lot of runs that get scored.
Yeah, that's how UCLA did it. How long ago was that? 15 years ago, 16, 17 years ago? That's how they did it. They did not have any power on that team, but they had good pitching. They played good defense, and they were able to have some timely hits, and they knew how to bunt, which seems like there's not many people that are very good bunting anymore. I saw a kid the other day perform a bunt, and he did really well, but that's kind of like a lost art in today's college ball, it seems.
Billy, it looked like Tennessee took a lot of people. Fan-wise.
They traveled pretty well up there. Of course, not as good as LSU. Nobody's going to travel as good as LSU, but Tennessee brought a decent chunk of orange up there. And, I'm talking to a lot of people. Tony talked a bit about this last week. He said, at this point, you go to Omaha for the first trip and you go 0-2. You don't want to go 0-2 again if you're Tennessee. Not the best look, but again, they brought a bunch of people and they're battling here. They're a team. Anytime they've been down 4-0, they have found a way. It's like the third or fourth time they're down 4-0. Next inning, they find a way to battle back. So they've been fighters.
I went, I want to say it was 2015. Will Perdue was part of that trip. Steve Reese. We went, we played golf on the Platte River. Beautiful. That was a complete embarrassment.
Well, why does that not surprise me, George? I mean, you're out of your comfort zone when you're on a golf course. That's just, I don't know why Will would do that. Is just because he can make fun of you? Is that why he did it?
That's part of it. But I'll also tell you this about his golf game. You all come at it a little bit differently. He hits a lot of these low line drives, and at 6'11", the kind of leverage he gets, his ball coming off the tee looks like nobody's I've ever played with. And some people have said the same about me. George, when you hit the ball, it doesn't look like anybody else's.
If we had some more time with Will, I was going to ask about his golf game and like, how do you fit a guy for clubs at 6'11"? I don't understand how you do that.
That's a really good question. By the way, some of the noise you may hear in the background, take a look outside. It is pouring again. Absolutely, the bottom has fallen out here in Bellevue. So let me tell you what we're going to do. After the break, we're going to embarrass ourselves with Stat of the Day. Then we're going to have Kelly Holcomb's World of Football. And then I'm going to talk about something that went on over the weekend that really is a pitiful story. And once you hear it, you're going to sit there and go, he's absolutely right. So stay tuned. We're coming back.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning, those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication. And we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards, in all sports, and then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general, baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in. It is time for Kelly Holcomb's favorite segment of the show. It is time for Saturday, presented to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards, located in Shelbyville, Tennessee. 204 East Depot Street is where you can find them. They're open during the week Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So give them a call at 931 492-4304. Let's go to the Pacific Northwest on the junior circuit. And Julio Rodriguez, this weekend he recorded his 40th career homer and 40th career stolen base. He became the second fastest player to reach the 40-40 mark since 1900. He did it in 200 games of his career. Can you name the only other player in MLB history to record his 40th career homer and his 40th career stolen base faster? And here is your hint. He is an active player.
Okay, so Kelly, the easy one to throw out there, it may not be the correct one, is Ronald Acuna from the Braves. That's one that's out there.
I mean, would Mookie Betts be part of it or no? I don't know.
You know what? That's not a bad guess at all. Just hold on to that one for a minute. I like that. Acuna seems too obvious to me for them to have used it. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that we ought to include in that. Cody Bellinger never got enough stolen bases that I can think of to be a 40-40. The one I was going to put out there until he said active player was Jose Canseco.
That's who I was going to say.
Yeah. Okay, let's go with the two we've thrown out there.
Billy, I need my buzzer back.
I know. You've been having to use it pretty often.
Yeah. Kelly, you've been better. You've been on a hot streak so far, so I was hoping you stay on fire.
Yeah, I mean, baseball's not my wheelhouse, though. That's y'all's wheelhouse.
Fair enough. It is not Mookie Betts and is not Ronald Acuna Jr. Ready for the answer?
Yeah.
It is Fernando Tatis Jr.
Oh, yeah.
The other superstar.
Good luck with that.
You can have him.
Pretty darn good ball player.
He is. He's also got a little dog in him.
A little bit.
There's a reason the Padres are where they are right now.
They're going to turn it around at some point. They're too good not to.
Well, isn't it about time?
We got the All-Star break. We got the second half of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, for as bad as things are in the National League, the wild card race is going to be interesting down the stretch. Nobody's running away from any.
Yeah.
It's the Braves and then it's everybody else. So
that division pretty wide open?
Arizona's leading right now, but I know a lot of people are expecting the Dodgers to turn around, but they just got swept by the Giants this weekend.
And let me tell you, they've got some huge problems right now. They've got a bunch of injuries, and they've got big-time bullpen issues because of some of these injuries. And the Giants absolutely cleaned their clock out over the weekend. One of the games, wasn't Saturday like 18-0?
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy to say this, but the hottest division in the National League is the National League East. The Phillies have won like 12 of the last 15. The Marlins have won 12 of the last 15. And so have the Braves. So the National League East is getting hot. The Mets are falling by the wayside. They're in 11.5 games out of first place.
Gee, I feel so bad.
Exactly. So Buck Showalter might be on the hot seat up in Queens.
He might be. That as much as that owner has paid, it might be. Okay, are we now ready for the main event?
Yes, we are. Let's roll with it.
It's a moment you have breathlessly awaited. It's time for Kelly Holcomb's World of Football. As shocking as this may sound, Kelly Holcomb's World of Football has sponsors. It's brought to you in part by Baird Financial with Yaz Hassan and Justin Oldham, and by State Farm Insurance, located in Murfreesboro, through agent Celeste Middleton. Okay, so last week when we had David Cutcliffe on, Kelly started what I thought was a really interesting conversation about the future of football, safety, all those kind of things with concussions and people dying, at a very early age who have played football. So, Kelly, let me start out with this right off the bat. If you were named tomorrow Commissioner of Safety, if you want to call it that, give me a couple of things you would either do or absolutely not do to try to help the game of football.
George, that's a very complicated question right there. I think, I'm not trying to be political, but I think the NFL is doing what they can safety wise, with all these new helmets that are coming out, with all the percentages of concussions. I think it's going down. I tell people all the time, I didn't wear a mouthpiece. I don't think Troy Aikman wore a mouthpiece. There's something to wearing a mouthpiece. I'll be honest with you. There's something to that, because Kurt Warner, I think, had a bunch of concussions, and then he started wearing a mouthpiece, and they were not as frequent as they were earlier in his career. So I think the NFL is doing a really good job. And I've said this before, when you were in a locker room, you always see a guy, and it's a picture of a guy, and it's got all the common injuries in football, like the ACL, the torn labrum in a shoulder, or ankle problems, or hand problems with broken fingers, or things like that. But you never saw anything about concussions. So that's why everybody's upset that played with me. And I don't know if I'm upset. I don't know if it would have changed my outlook on the game or not, because I'm here today talking to you because of football. I understand that. There's a lot of guys that say, hey, I would not allow my son to play football. And I just can't say that. Mine's playing football now, and I just can't say that. With that being said, if the NFL knew that concussions were a problem and the guys were having problems afterwards, I think they were very negligent in not saying anything about it. They're trying to hide that stuff. That's what big businesses do. We all know that with what's going on, with our government the last years. But I think the NFL is doing a really good job. What I think David Cutcliffe talked about the other day that was really cool, and that's why I wanted to bring that up today, he called that out, was it wasn't necessarily about concussions, but he's had 6 or 7 players that were with him that went on, I think he said, to the NFL, or maybe not, but they had died because of health issues. And if you think about that, George, you look at these offensive linemen, it's not easy to be three. So, now some guys can gain weight easily. I get it. They can fluctuate in their weight. They can go up, they can go down. But when you're 350 pounds, that's just not healthy. That's not how God made our human bodies. And if you come out of the NFL and you don't know how to eat, or because, hey, working out, some guys hated that garbage. They did not like working out, and they said, hey, when I'm done with this, I will never pick up another weight. And I think that's the wrong way to go about it. I really do. And I think he had a tremendous point when he talked about guys dying, because that's what he's interested about. Because why are these guys dying so young? And if you're an O lineman, or if you're a D lineman and you're a big guy, when you finish playing, you have got to still exercise. You have got to learn how to eat right. You have got to take vitamins and supplements, because the food that we're getting nowadays, George, is not very good. So you have to understand that. You have to learn from that. But you cannot, because when a guy goes out and he comes back and he eats all these calories and he goes out to practice, he's burning a lot of that off. Or he's going in the weight room and he's in an off-season program, you're eating a lot of calories and you go outside and you run, well, you're burning that off. But when you retire and you're still eating calories like that, and you're not doing anything but sitting on the couch watching TV, or you're not very active with what you're doing, I think that's what Coach Cutcliffe was talking about the other day. And that's what makes it interesting to me, because we love our game. We love football. But when you see some of the suicides that we've seen, and we're not going to bring up any names, but when you see things like that happening, that's just not where we want to be in football. And it's a sad situation, but that's why I wanted to talk about it today.
Okay, I'm going to go with something that I've never heard anybody bring up, and there's a likelihood that you're going to go, George, you've lost your rocker. But is there a scenario where football would be better off, almost like wrestling? I'm talking about real college wrestling, where you have to make a certain weight, where you're not allowed to weigh more than a certain amount. If we know that 350 is dangerous, then is there something where you say, okay, if you weigh more than 310, you're not playing?
That's a good point. Now, I will say this. They have weights for everybody that plays. So it's gotten so in-depth and so detailed in the National Football League as to they can understand your body. They can put you on a nutrition plan. They can put you in a bod pod, which is the bod pod. It looks about your fat content in your body, and it doesn't want to be too high. But I don't know if you can do that, George. It may come to a point where you could do that. That's a very valid point. But they're so precise nowadays in the weight room with trainers, with nutritionists, with people in the building. They understand that our bodies are our assets. That was one thing that my agent told me one of the first times that I talked to him. So he's like, you need to take care of it. When I started playing, there were a lot of guys that didn't take care of it. I remember when we were in training camp and then guys went out and that night they went out and had a couple of beers and a bunch of them were, they were smoking cigarettes. And I was like, these guys are smoking cigarettes. I can't believe this. And I remember one of my old equipment managers talking about Don Strock back in the day. Like he had to have him 2 cigarettes at halftime when he was playing. So it's just a different mentality nowadays, but that is a valid point. I don't know if you can ever do that, George. I really don't, because you got to be big to be an offensive lineman. These defensive linemen are so big. They're so quick now, and they want these guys. So they want them 6'5", 6'6". One of the guys I played with was huge. He was enormous, and he was 6'7", and he weighed like 340. But like his shoulders were as wide as a picture that's standing behind me right now. That it's kind of amazing how those guys can get. But for the good of the game, and I think the NFL is doing a good job as well after your career. But it's not a deal where they make you do it. It's a deal where you've got to call a hotline. If you have trouble, you have to call a hotline. Well, a lot of guys get in trouble and they're not going, we're men. We're not going to call somebody for help. And they've got a lot of that stuff in place, but you have to use it. So I think the league's doing a really good job with that, but it is, there is something to all these concussions. I've said this before, there's more concussions in soccer than there is in football, but nobody wants to talk about that. But we just want our game to be good, and we want guys coming out of the game to be healthy and to learn how to be healthy. And I think if you ask me what I would do, George, I think that while you're playing, I think you ought to have nutritionists or people come talk to you about life after football and about if you're overweight or you're an obese look, how you can learn how to eat, learn how to exercise, learn how to take vitamins and supplements to help you get down to your ideal homeostasis weight.
Big word there. Let's go back to concussions for a minute. Kelly, when I was growing up, it was totally an attitude difference.
Yeah.
If a person, looked like what we now know to be concussion, it was so-and-so got their bell rung, followed by laughter.
Right.
Okay, we got to a point, and I don't know exactly when we got to it, where we got out of Johnny got his bell rung. Isn't that hilarious? And all of a sudden this became serious. And, you see the NFL, one of the things that I do like, and I'm with you, that I think the league now has been forced to try, is they've got a guy upstairs during a game watching to see if somebody shows some symptoms. We saw that with Tua, in the game, the Thursday night game a year ago against Cincinnati. And we've seen it a couple of other times where the spotter up in the press box is the one who said, get him out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, they're doing a real good job of that, George. You're absolutely right. But if you didn't have that, and I've talked about it a lot on this program, if you didn't have that, like I'm not going to tell you the truth. I'm going to slide away from that. I want to play football, and you've got to take it. And I think they've done a good job about taking it out of their hands. When you see a big hit, they're training the referees to see it, to look in his eyes to see that, or they've got the spotter upstairs to look at it. Because if medical profession come to you, a medical professional, the doctor on the sideline comes to you, and you come off and you just took a huge hit, but you're still there. They're going to ask you, well, how you doing? And I'm going to say, I'm fine. That's just the way it is. I'm sorry. And that's not. Now, I think this generation is probably different because they understand the ramifications of concussions and what it can do to the brain, I think it's probably different. But you're still going to have a lot of guys in today's pro football or college football if somebody comes and asks you, if they're asking me if I'm fine, I'm going to tell them 100% of the time that I'm fine, because I want to play. I'm a competitor. I want to get out there and play. Now, is that the right thing to do? Absolutely not. And looking back on that, being almost 50 now, I can tell you that is not the right answer. But when my son or when my daughter or when somebody young does, I totally understand where they're coming from, because you want to be out there on that football field, and there's things that you do. We talked about it today when we were talking, but I've got health issues right now, and I firmly believe that a lot of it has to do with my genetic makeup, obviously, but a lot of it has to do too with all the shots and all the pills that I took just to try to stay on the field when I was playing. So that's not the right thing to do. I understand that. And I'm suffering for it right now. There's no question. I've got to get myself right. But if I had it to do it all over again, George, I promise you I would do it all over again, to be out there and play with the other 10 guys on the offense, be in front of 80,000 people, millions of people watching you on TV. I would do it again.
Let's take the concussion issue with one last question here. Do you think we can ever get to a point where the manufacturers can create a helmet that just stops it cold?
I don't know, George. The technology is crazy nowadays, though. They probably can. They're probably getting close now to doing that. It's probably going to be a weird thing, and they might double up your helmet. Like, there's a lot of college teams, a lot of pro teams are wearing that. Sorry, but they call it a head condom. So they put that on there, and they during practice. I've seen a bunch of college teams wear that because they're worried to death about concussions. And if you get a guy concussed during the week and not be able to play, then that's going to affect the outcome of the game. So they're doing a lot of that to try to help guys with that during the week. And then I can see that happening in games. I've seen the Kelsey guy this was before I played at Buffalo, but the Kelsey guy at Buffalo used to wear one, and because he had some concussions. So I think they're heading that way, George. I think they've made the helmet so much more protective, though. It's kind of amazing with the technology. They got sensors in there that they can put in there. They've got sensors in your shoulder pad. See if you took a big hit. There's all kind of technologies that's coming out, George, that's trying to make the game safer. And I think it's helping. I think it will help, but I still go back to the deal. I still worry about the state of football. I really do.
Okay. Good conversation. After the break, we'll get you the very latest from Omaha, Tennessee, and Stanford in a tough, tight game in the middle innings. And then we'll talk about what went on over the weekend. Sad college basketball note. Stick around.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Lanes. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Single game tickets are on sale now.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
We are back here at the Ford Ice Center. For those of you who are watching the show live, Tennessee and Stanford are playing right now in the College World Series in Omaha. Billy, what's happening?
It is still 4-4, but we are in the bottom of the sixth. So this game's still going. Chase Burns in there for Tennessee the last couple of innings. Actually, check that top of the seventh. That was the last inning was bottom six. So, yeah, we are tied at 4. Tennessee is at the plate in the top of the seventh trying to give Chase Burns some run support. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, now here's the kind of question, Kelly, that should get asked in Stat of the Day. You ready?
Okay.
There are 13 coaches in NCAA basketball history who have 800 or more victories. 13. Let's see how many these two get.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. Kelly hates questions that have multiple answers. Isn't that right, Kelly? So you like one?
That is correct, but I mean that's kind of
Kelly.
that's not a hard one. Y'all go. Let's go. Let's go on them.
Let's get on with Billy, are you cheating?
What?
Oh, there's no question Billy's cheating.
What's the question?
What do you mean, what's the question? I just got through asking it.
Normally there's a graphic.
Well, there's no graphic here.
So
there are 13 coaches in NCAA basketball history who have won 800 or more games in their career.
Okay.
Name them.
Dean Smith.
Dean Smith would be number 7.
Okay. Mike Krzyzewski.
Well, hold on a minute. Let's just go back and forth.
Roy Williams.
Okay, first of all, who'd you say, David?
Mike Krzyzewski.
Krzyzewski's number 1 with 1,202.
So who's your second one? He said Roy Williams.
Roy Williams is number 5.
Okay, so that's 4 of the 13, or 3 of the 13. Who's your fourth?
Bill Self?
Bill Self, no.
No?
No, thanks for playing.
So go ahead and get your who's your next one?
Yeah. Doing really well with this, aren't you?
Calipari wouldn't be up there, would he?
That's your guess.
You're not going to give me any help?
Well, I'm thinking about my next one. I'm 2 for 2, so
I guess there's no teamwork involved here.
Okay, so you're going Calipari.
Yeah.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
Thanks for playing.
Oh, John Wooden.
Yes.
John Wooden surprisingly is not there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about Phil Knight?
Phil Knight?
Or Bob Knight. Sorry. Whatever. Bobby Knight.
Can you believe he said that?
No. He's on there.
Phil Knight.
Bob Knight's on there.
Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight is on there.
Bobby Knight is number 6 with 902. How many have you all gotten? You've gotten 3.
He's gotten 1.
Then
4.
This is not for Kelly though.
No, this is for you two.
Roy Skinner had a lot. I don't know.
Roy
if he's
Skinner's not anywhere close. Roy Skinner retired in his
John
late
Thompson.
40s. John Thompson is not a part of this, but thank you for playing.
I mean, that would be a really good guess, though. Georgetown has some really good teams.
Yeah. Okay, do you want me to give you the list?
Rick Barnes isn't up there, is he?
Rick Barnes is not a part of this list.
Hey, George, what about Denny Crum? Is Denny Crum on there?
Denny Crum is not.
Who was the Houston coach that sent them to the Final Four?
Guy Lewis?
Yeah.
Guy Lewis is not there. Calipari, by the way, 17th. Bill Self, 18th. So I'm going to run through a list.
Oh, Rick Pitino.
Rick Pitino. According to this,
his list might not be accurate, Billy. I'm going to call out the list.
These all must be in the 1950s.
Okay, hold on a second.
They'd offer up.
They had to go get the basketball out of the hoop. There was no bottom cut out.
They'd offer up one of them.
Okay, this was, oh, wait a minute. We may be 1 year off.
Oh, my
goodness. So here's who they listed. Krzyzewski, Jim Boeheim, Jim Calhoun, Bob Huggins. That's where we're going here.
I was going to go Bob Huggins.
Roy Williams, Bobby Knight, Dean Smith, Adolph Rupp, Jim Phelan, who we probably less people know more. I mean, more people know less about that guy than anybody on this list. Cliff Ellis, former Auburn coach, before that Clemson, Raleigh Massimino, Eddie Sutton, Rick Byrd.
Rick Byrd,
Rick
wow.
Byrd, 805.
How about that?
So where I was going eventually was, what a pitiful ending on Bob Huggins. I mean, he had always had a reputation of being kind of a renegade. He's had some issues, but in the last month, what ultimately wiped him out at West Virginia, and they had no choice. It just pitiful.
Yeah. I mean, it started with the racial slur, right? But then, a couple weeks later, the DUI, and it's like, all right.
Where he was almost 3 times the legal limit.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and it is sad because he had such a great career. So many wins, as you just said, at a program like a West Virginia that, let's face it, without him, they're probably a nobody type of program. I mean, he elevated that program to heights that they probably never expected.
Huggins, if he'd gotten to stay around long enough, was going to approach 1,000.
Yeah. So it's weird, really strange situation how his career ended. I don't even have any other words.
I got to meet him at an Indianapolis 500. We shared a suite together one day, and we stayed there all day because it was one of those Indy 500s where it was rainy, then the sun would come out. Then it was rain, then the sun was come out. So, I literally stayed there 12 hours. I don't remember. I'm sure he had some drinks. I don't remember him being that way. You could tell that he was kind of a, he was kind of a gruff guy. He was that guy, and you can tell why he's a really good basketball coach. You can tell that just by being around him a little bit. But yeah, it's really you're absolutely right, George. It's really sad
It's just a bad ending.
Yeah, it's a sad ending for such a great career. And will he ever get another shot? Do you think he'll ever get another shot, George?
No, never say never anymore. I've learned when you go never, you end up looking stupid. I don't think so. But then again, I might have thought that about Pitino a few years ago. So who knows?
That's right. Well, we don't know. It's hard to say. You never know what's going on behind closed doors in someone's life. You never really know. That's why when I was coaching at Riverdale, I enjoyed that because we had kids sometimes. There was a kid that was living in a garage with his dad. You never know what they're coming from. You never know what, and just for me to try to mentor him, you never know what's going on behind closed doors. So it's always a race to judgment, which I don't think needs to happen. But you're right. It's just a sad ending to a really long, really good career.
Okay, we'll go to the break on that, and then we'll have the Plaster bet of the day check in one more time on what Tennessee is or isn't doing in Omaha. From the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue, we're back after this.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Welcome back in. Final segment on a Reaction Monday. Plaster's Bet today, presented to you by the good folks at Bart Durham Injury Law Firm. They are, simply put, the best in the business. They are lawyers you can trust. So give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com. And for George, another victory in the win column. The Mets got it done. They lost the series to St. Louis, but on Friday night they gave George the W.
So, Billy, we'll get to a year right at July the 10th, and my intention is to be over 500 at that point, which would be a very successful year.
This could get interesting down the stretch here.
So, I'm buying into the Cincinnati Reds. Okay, and I've been buying into them now for 3 or 4 weeks, even though going into the season, I hadn't heard a half of that roster. And as close as I keep up, They threw some names at me I had never heard of. This is a really good, young, aggressive team that over the weekend went to Houston and smoked the Astros 3 in a row. You're defending world champions. So now the Reds come home and they get Colorado, which Atlanta lit up like a Christmas tree over the weekend. It is vitally important for Cincinnati to keep the momentum and not lose to a sad sack on the road like Colorado. Colorado goes on the road, and it's always been this way. They play pretty competitive at Coors, and then they can't handle going on the road. Kelly, we're taking the Reds. Book it.
And the Reds are good.
Oh, book it.
One, too. Joey Votto is making his return to the lineup tonight. He'll play first base.
Is he really?
So hopefully it's going to mess with that lineup a little bit. They've been hot, so there were questions of, were you going to throw him straight in there? But, he's such a veteran.
Who's been playing first for them?
That's a really good question.
You don't have a good answer.
I don't watch the Reds. I'm sorry. I just know that Ellie De La Cruz is a stud.
So hold on. Are you a little bit of a Braves snob?
I mean, I watch the Braves.
No, I get that, but I mean, you can't acknowledge the Reds at all.
I mean, they have the longest winning streak in MLB right now at 8. They're really good. The Braves will play them this weekend, so we'll see what happens.
But you would never watch them.
I mean, if I had a choice, they play at the same time between watching the Braves and the Reds. I'll watch the Braves.
Okay. Well, all right.
I mean, that's a truthful answer. I know. I mean, the Reds are really good, but I don't know who plays.
He's a one-team guy, George. What can he say? He's a one-team guy. He don't want to dabble in the others.
I mean, I've got one word for it. Damn.
You're like Danny Evans. You just like baseball. You love the Braves, but you want to see all kind of baseball.
Yeah.
We don't all have the MLB extra innings package where you can flip through every game. Although I think David can do that on his laptop, but it is what it is.
Okay. I guess I've made my point. Reds tonight. Joey Votto, that'll be really interesting. 37-year-old who has been a great hitter. I mean, great as in approaching Hall of Fame kind of stuff. He's been incredible. But now all of a sudden around him is this little, kiddie core that has caused all this excitement. This is a big series for the Reds.
Yeah, that NL Central is wide open.
They've got to rip Colorado, and they're going to.
At Great American Small Park?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. What's going on in Omaha?
Tennessee has taken a 2-run lead. They lead 6-4. They have scored 6 unanswered runs, and they lead Stanford 6-4. And that is in the top of the 7th still, if I'm not mistaken. So, actually, no, they're headed to the bottom of the 7th.
Okay, and if Tennessee wins, run through that scenario again.
So if Tennessee wins, they play tomorrow night at 6 o'clock against the loser of tonight's game, Wake Forest and LSU. If they lose, they're done.
So potentially they could play LSU a second time.
Yep.
Wow.
They can't afford to keep falling behind 4-0, especially against Wake or LSU.
Yeah.
Good for them that they've gotten off the deck today, and hopefully they got 9 outs to get.
They better hope the Skeens kid does not pitch, because they acted like, is that how you say his name? I don't even know how you say his name.
Skeens, yep.
Skeens. Like,
that's interesting, yeah. If you're Tennessee, who would you rather face? Because LSU's pitching besides Skeens hasn't been very good this year.
You would rather face anyone else.
Oh, absolutely.
They would probably get their third guy.
Look, they're not pitching him.
No, they're not.
Again until
a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, would you rather? Go ahead.
It just seemed like the other day, David, and Billy, when I cut on the game, it just seemed like UT was going to be in it if he wasn't pitching good or if they got a couple of hits. But then after he started pitching 100 miles and striking guys out, they kind of gave. I won't say gave up, but it just didn't seem like they were into the game at all.
What I told Billy is, against a guy like that, he's going to get his strikeouts. You just go up there and try to compete as best as you can, drive up his pitch count, try to string together a few hits, and then boom, try to get that big hit. But he's going to get his strikeouts. I mean, the dude's going to be the first pitcher taken off the board in the draft. And Dylan Cruz is really good too. He's going to be the first position player. They're really good, but that bullpen has been a question mark for LSU all year.
They're a totally different team when Skeens is not pitching. So that'll be interesting to see if Tennessee can get another shot at LSU. And trust me, you know they want it.
Okay, here's the stuff as we leave. Kelly, behave until tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Billy, behave until tomorrow.
I will.
David,
am I supposed to watch the Reds game tonight?
branch out a tad bit. I mean,
the baseball knowledge is there, George.
Yeah, but you're not going to. I mean, look, they're not going to take away your tomahawk card.
Well,
if you turn on the Reds for 10 minutes.
If there's a game I'm going to watch tonight, it's going to be Mets versus Astros. That's going on tonight. So
right.
And Verlander, I think he's going, or is it Scherzer? One of the
Scherzer.
two. Scherzer's going tonight, so we'll see what happens in that one.
Okay. Go Reds for now. Don't say that very often, but mean it tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Tony Basilio will join us, and that in and of itself guarantees it's going to be interesting. So long, everybody.
Yeah.